I decided to do the talk today. It's been over a year that I've been coming here with you guys, and I was one of those people going, well, I'm sure there's something for me to share, but I don't know what it is. And the more I waited around to get this message from the divine of what I should share, the more I realized that I needed to just commit, and then the message would come. So all I gave her was blooming. She's like, okay. And I finished my talk this morning. That's the way I roll. So when I thought about doing the talk, this book came to mind. It's called Leo the Late Bloomer, and I'm going to read it to you. This is one of my favorite books to read to my kids when they were little, partially because I felt it helped their self-esteem, but mostly just because it's a really short book, and a lot of times I was so tired. Okay. Nobody else can identify with that, right? So, Leo the Late Bloomer. Leo couldn't do anything right. He couldn't read. He couldn't write. He couldn't draw. He was a sloppy eater, and he never said a word. What's the matter with Leo? Asked Leo's father. Nothing, said Leo's mother. Leo's just a late bloomer. Better late than never, thought Leo's father. Any dads out there ever worried about that? Every day, Leo's father watched him for signs of blooming. And every night, Leo's father watched him for signs of blooming. Are you sure Leo's a bloomer? Asked Leo's father. Patience, said Leo's mother. A watched bloomer doesn't bloom. So Leo's father watched television instead of Leo.
He played video games.
Today's version. This was written in 1971. So came in after a period of life. The snows came. Leo's father wasn't watching, but Leo still wasn't blooming. Still kind of watching. The trees budded. Leo's father wasn't watching, but Leo still wasn't blooming. Then one day, in his own good time, Leo bloomed. He could read, slight overachiever. Right? Cursive? Yeah, cursive. Yeah. Not for today, right?
What's cursive?
Keyboard though.
Same thing like hieroglyphics.
Yeah. He could draw. He ate meat. He also spoke. And it wasn't just a word, it was a whole sentence. And that sentence was, I made it. Does anybody in this room identify at all with Leo? Or Leo's father? Yeah. Or maybe at times Leo's mother, right? I know personally there are areas in my life where I thought, or what is blooming look? So that was my inspiration for today's talk. So in gathering information, I thought, okay, bloom, what is to bloom? Let's look at some synonyms. Flourish, thrive, prosper, progress. Especially in the Leo, the late bloomer. Father was identifying whether he bloomed or not based on his skill sets. What could he or couldn't he do that everybody else was doing, right? The identification. And when I thought about that, when I thought about blooming as it relates to skill set, I thought about how it seems like some skills we develop, some of us develop really early, and then continue to progress to greater and greater heights. Some of us might feel that we bloomed early in some areas, peaked, and then are dying on the vine. And it doesn't, as I thought about this, it didn't relate to like my whole life. It seemed to break down into pieces. I bloomed here, but not here. Or, I was good at this, but not that. So some of my favorite writers, Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, Alan Cohen, I had a chance to meet him a few times when he was out here, cite A Course in Miracles quite often. There are probably a lot of you in this room familiar with A Course in Miracles. And I'm the kind of person that likes to go to the source. It's nice to have teachers interpret, but I also like to look at the texts that they're getting their knowledge from. And so I spent a couple years ago, each day, reading A Course in Miracles. And I still study it today. And I want to share with you, as I think it relates to this talk, my single most favorite line from this book, which, if anybody has ever, it's like Shakespeare. Yeah. And especially if there's anything in you that kind of goes, when you read the Bible, because of conditioning or whatever, it has that kind of feel too, a patriarchal feel. So you have to address that in yourself and get past it to get the message. Still working on it. But the line in here is from lesson 41, verse 3.1. I'm going to read it twice so you hear it. Deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. Deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. I should have written this in pencil, I can't see. I love that line because when I read it, for me, the pressure's off. And I'm feeling like there might have been some pressure up Leo. And it really wasn't coming from Leo, but as he grew, it would probably, he'll internalize it. So everything I ever need is already present within me. There is absolutely nothing that needs to be acquired. I personally just need to get out of my own way most of the time. Anybody else find themselves in their own way, whatever aspect that is, remind yourself out of your own way. Specifically when I'm faced with handling a difficult situation that I feel ill-equipped to handle, I remind myself this simple thought: not by me, but through me. If I feel like I have to handle everything that comes my way from my own small mind, from my own ego, from my own skill set that I've acquired in the 44 years I've been on this planet, there are times that I just feel like I'm going to fall short before I even try. But I see every Sunday that I'm here, I see, especially through Mark and Colleen, I see Spirit working through them. I see them ask, what am I going to talk about this next week? And I see it come through them. So that's what I ask. And in doing that as well, I ground myself. I'm a big energy person. So my idea of grounding is to imagine a cord of light tethering my tailbone to the center of the earth, wrapping it around the core, taking a deep breath and proceeding. I find this very helpful when I'm driving. If I notice that people are cutting me off or tailgating or just impatient, if I do that, you close your eyes, don't recommend that. But if I do that visualization, 9 times out of 10, people like wave me into traffic, give me little high fives. We have Lynn talked years ago about that little codependent thing that happens at four-way stops. No, you go. No, you go. So it's magic. You should try it. It works really well. Speaking of people, dealing with people, traffic, all that. I saw a quote this morning. Again, I was writing this morning. That said, I used to be a people person, but people ruined it for me. I had to laugh because I consider my life work, it's about connections. It's about reminding folks that they are perfectly lovable just the way they are, and their reason for being here is to be here. And they don't have to do anything to be worthy. But one of my favorite Course in Miracle teachers, Earl Purdy, down in Denver, he says, we teach what we need to learn. So sometimes when you get up and you do a talk and you want to act like the expert, really, my thought is, I am telling you this because I have not yet grasped it. Hear it again and again. But I stop talking about it. So sometimes at work, when I work tech support, my day job, a lot of things, but I work tech support. Yesterday, I got a call that started out with, I am so annoyed with you people. Here I am. Thank you for calling Constant Contact. My name is Tricia, and who am I speaking with? I am so annoyed with you people. This is going to go well. So, instead of recognizing a call for love in that moment, I feel defensive. I feel dismissive. My hackles are up. Like, hey, I'm not you people, I'm a person. You know? Which makes me feel like a complete and total hypocrite because I teach my kids that everything is love or a call for love, right? In your most grounded place, you've done a little, ground in the earth, and you're but in that moment, if you walk the walk and you believe it's a call for love, it does help you choose a more appropriate, helpful response to those in need. However, there are some days you just want to scream back at them, and then you realize you're the one that's calling for love. So, speaking of love, I'll share something just a little personal. So, I think it's very difficult for us in our physical state to truly grasp our deep connection to each other and let go of our ego's need to judge. I know it's been something that's very difficult for me. Course in Miracles, it's interesting, it teaches that we heal through forgiveness, and a lot of paths do heal through forgiveness, but then Course in Miracles says forgiveness isn't even necessary because nothing has happened. The roles kind of thing, and we're all one. So it's kind of like if you hit your own toe, then you gotta apologize to your toe. Okay, well, whatever. So I'm going to tell you a story about my grandmother. Reveal a little bit about myself in the process. So my grandmother was, she died before I was born. It's my dad's mom. And I never knew her, obviously, but she would come to my bedside through my whole childhood. And I didn't know this was weird or different or strange. It's kind of raised, and my father calls them family witches. My parents were an engineer and a nurse. They were Protestants. There was nothing, I didn't grow up in any kind of major holistic way or whatever, but there was just a gentle acceptance of things that weren't necessarily mainstream. And so I never shut down that connection. And my whole life, I can't control it. I don't call people in, we're going to talk to your aunt, whatever. But people just show up. So for years, my grandmother would show up and we would exchange information. And I say it that way because communication, my experience with communication with those that have passed is not a conversation. You don't sit and go, he said this, she said this. It doesn't work like that. It is an instantaneous knowing of every thought that needed to be communicated in that moment. It's like the conversation already happened. I'll share as far as explaining that. And I shared this with my father the other day, again, the engineer, retired colonel. And he said, I really believe to hear you say that because I get get so frustrated with language. I just feel like it's just such a poor way to communicate. We miscommunicate. That's what I struggle with this all the time because words just suck. But I said, well, take heart. That's not the way it's always done. And I think even on a physical level, we're becoming more and more aware of that other level of communication. That whole, the phone rings, oh my gosh, I was just thinking of you. Well, of course, you send it out to the person. You just don't realize that until you start, in your lab, keeping track and looking at the evidence. So when I was a senior in high school, my paternal grandfather was essentially on his deathbed. After my grandmother's death, my father cut ties to his side of the family. He felt that they were all a bunch of drunks and criminals and really wanted a better life for himself. So I didn't really know that side of the family, other than my grandmother and her wonderful visits to me. But since Grandpa was on his deathbed, we made a family trip to Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, to one last visit. And he died in December that year, summer. And it was there that my aunt pulled me aside and told me that the reason nobody talked about my grandmother and my grandmother died was she was murdered by her second husband. And he actually, without getting into too much detail, but he killed her with her own gun that she had bought. She had herself from him. He ended up going to prison and being pardoned by a corrupt governor who was later impeached, and he lived out his life, as a free man. 3 years after that. And that was why my father didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to visit it. I found it strange that all those visits with my grandmother, how she died never came up. It wasn't important. I didn't ask. A few years ago, I started smelling oatmeal soap everywhere. And I mentioned it to my father. And he was like, I just got chills. My mom used oatmeal soap. Her hair smelled like it. That's what she used. I use oatmeal soap. But I didn't then. And of course, I would not know this. I don't necessarily experience the other side the way I did when I was a kid. Now it's a little bit less direct. I'm busy. I'm busy with the physical plane, it's like, go away. And then one night, she and her second husband, showed up in my room, hand in hand. And the logical side moved immediately the next day we were done to see if he passed 3 months prior. The message she wanted me to relay was to her son. She said, Bert and I are good. They were hand in hand. So I had to call my dad, and I had to say, hey, the man that murdered your mom was like in my bedroom holding your hand, and they're dead. So I figured my lesson from that is if that's the outcome of something like that, then I can surely find it a way to not be defensive or dismissive when somebody calls me and says, you people are annoying me. I can find a way. So what are we doing here? Each day more is revealed, as I often say. Are we here to sit in the lotus position and meditate? Sometimes. Our society is definitely focused on doing. As in the newsletter, one of my favorite quotes is from John Lennon, and I'm going to repeat it for those that didn't get to see it. I also put this in my son's yearbook when he graduated from high school, because I thought it was important. When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. I told them they didn't understand. I wake each morning and I ask the universe, how may I serve? And I spend my day looking for opportunities to do so. Each one of us in this room, and as you go out, have developed skills over the course of your lifetime that enable us to serve others in our own unique way. We really don't have to worry about whether what we bring to the table is good enough or how it compares to other people. I find peace in knowing that my only job is to show up, to be fully present, and to trust that who I am with others. In my mid-20s, I was told by a psychic friend that I'd be a late bloomer. This troubled me because I really wasn't even sure what my full bloom would look like, much less if I'd ever achieved it. When I sat down to write the bio for the newsletter announcing this talk, I was faced with trying to whittle down my entire being into a short blurb. You know? In fact, I even looked up on the internet 16 questions to ask yourself so your bio doesn't make you sound like a douche. And I asked Theo, I said, it's a fine line between tooting your own horn and instilling confidence and your expertise and sounding like a complete and total self-centered moron. Not uncomfortable. Try it. If those of you don't have one, try it. So who am I today? Practicing my call for love, life, supported by that guy over there, counselor, holding the space for others, and reflecting back to them their perfection, friend, sister, daughter. And most importantly, I am love, and each day I find new ways to express who I am through my
She gave the company line.
I said, and I say this quite often because a lot of it, again, that call for love. So there's a difference between how I'm feeling and what I kind of like to do in that moment and what that I'm trained to do. And it's, you know what? I completely understand. I was a customer before I started working with tech support. I've been on your phone. I will help you to the best of my ability to get this resolved. Because really, whether I can help them, just being heard, just being validated, just telling somebody, God, I've been there. Even though right now I'm judging you because you're being mean to me, I shouldn't judge you because